Maybe a lot of your listeners are like me and really had no idea what domestic violence or abuse is, and nor the prevalence of it. Yet I was in it, and it was so muddled of confusion and chaos I didn't even recognize that I was in it. It was so traumatizing that my daughter and I spent Christmas Eve in her room with the door locked. And when my daughter tells me that she's too afraid to open the door to go access the bathroom, I knew that was the time. So I get the counseling and identifying with all these checklists, right? Are you experiencing, fear in the home? Can you express your opinion freely? Like, no. Can you make financial decisions? No. Can you choose what to wear? No. Do you have freedom to go where you want and spend time with friends? No. Like all of these things. And then talking to friends, more clarity is happening on a day that I knew friends and family would be available to help me. And it was like game on. I could only tell one person. I couldn't even tell my daughter, because if she said or expressed any emotion over the camera, game over. I couldn't tell her until it was out. I had 10 friends show up, and 2.5 hours later, I was out. Never went back.
Welcome to Utah Stories. So with me on the program, I have Laurie Smithson from Beauty from Ashes. Thanks for being on.
Thank you.
So let's start by telling your story of how you were a victim of domestic violence, which I think gives us a pretty good overview of how the dynamic of that problem exists. Just, I guess, provide a little bit of your background and how you got into that situation.
Love to. Maybe a lot of your listeners are like me and really had no idea what domestic violence or abuse is, and nor the prevalence of it. Yet I was in it, and it was so muddled of confusion and chaos I didn't even recognize that I was in it. And a little bit of my background, I grew up in a solid home, caring parents, loving environment, very nurturing. And my first husband, it was a great marriage, and we actually share a daughter together. He has since passed away in 2017. And at that time, I'm 39 and my daughter was 10. And after, seeing him suffer for so long, it was kind of like, okay, Lord, I have another chance at life here, and stepped into the dating realm. Because, I wanted to have like a father figure for my daughter, right? My husband, for so much of her childhood, couldn't be that dad to even play catch with her or, skateboard with her or do those things that dads like to do. I'm in the dating world and come across this guy and answered all the questions to the T, right? And I was like, okay, continue to go on a couple of dates. The second date we go to, it's just, the charm was so thick looking back. And really, I honestly believed the lie that he was treating me so well because I had such a hard life. And he wanted to take care of me as a widow. I'm like, oh, that is so sweet. So he'd buy me these leather shoes and nice outfit out of Nordstrom's. And then we'd go on our date. And I'm like, in retrospect, right? He's dressing me up to make him look good. And that was the story. He had a very successful job. I really had no idea what perpetrators would be like, right? And I always thought it was for the other side of the tracks, right? Drugs, low income, that kind of thing. And we weren't. We're on the East Bench, very successful career. So yeah, that image did not appear as what I would identify domestic abuse.
Didn't fit the mold of what you would ever expect.
Yeah. Exactly. We did school at home with my daughter, and she was actually the first one to bring to my attention that word, abuse. I was like, no, honey.
Can you describe what he did?
Yeah, there was a lot of what I didn't know, the word gaslighting. You hear that thrown around, but I didn't know that that's what was happening, but there would be a lot of name calling, a lot of false accusations, a lot of crazy making. It was really hard on my daughter. There were even physical incidents that have happened where I should have called the police, and I didn't. The fear was just too gripping as far as like what would happen, right? What would be. I actually had thoughts thinking that the police would come and accuse me.
There was something in the back of your mind that's like,
it's just the
saying that
fear,
this
like
is-
what am I going to do? Because he puts in the fear, like I'm lucky to have him. And, you know, he works to provide for us so that I can stay home. So every element had an element of power and control over me. Like I was totally,
Did he somehow blame it on you when he beat you up?
oh yeah.
Really?
He wanted to make sure I was looking at him when he's talking to me. And it wasn't talking like a conversation. It's cowering over physically and yelling profanities, pointing fingers and using all kinds of gestures and blocking your way of moving and things like that. And he would do that to myself and my daughter.
And your daughter's pointing this out, Mom.
And
This is
he did this to her
abuse.
too. It was horrible. But when she's saying that, I was like, no, you know, God wants us to love our enemies, love those who persecute you. Like, God's going to get us through this. We have to make sure that we don't make him upset, and we just continue to show love. And it's shameful of me to even think like that, right? But I was in it.
Did he make
and I
you,
loved him.
Did he make you believe it was your fault?
Yes.
You
Every
actually
time.
you believed that.
There was some crazy making. There was like, no, that's not my fault. But yeah, that makes sense what he's saying. Like, what? But the last incident that had happened, it was like a culmination, that buildup. It was so traumatizing that my daughter and I spent Christmas Eve in her room with the door locked. And when my daughter tells me that she's too afraid to open the door to go access the bathroom, I knew that was the time. Like, Mommy needs to get serious, and we need to get a game plan.
Did your family live here in Utah? Like,
Yeah.
And they were...
You know, they had no idea. But once I communicated to them what was really going on, they were fully supportive. And the last thing I wanted to do was disappoint family, disappoint God, right? Because we're told, like, divorce, God hates divorce.
And you were going to church every Sunday with
Yeah.
him.
Oh, and we look good, right?
And he was part of the church.
He wasn't part of, like,
Community,
leadership,
or-
but yeah, he would come regularly. Oh, yeah, hands held high during worship.
Never any remorse or
No.
regret or like, this was wrong. I did something wrong here.
No. Read his Bible every day. So on the outside of, like, what I'm seeing, I'm like, I want to believe that. But the actions did not reflect that.
So how did you get out of that? How did you begin to make your break and
Yeah,
do what you
great
needed to do?
question. So one, counseling was a great help. She really helped me see that I needed boundaries. I clearly didn't know what they were. I didn't know how to implement them, and I, at the end of the day, was too afraid to.
Was this within your church? You did counseling, or you
Outside of
okay,
the
you just
church.
found a counselor.
I found a counselor that he approved of, because I wanted to see the pastor, and he says, oh, no. You cannot tell anybody in the church. I forbid you to do that. They don't need to know our stuff. If you want to get help, see, you know, I'm the problem. You want to get help, you're going to see this girl. She really knows.
So
this stuff.
he felt he had nothing to do with the solution.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
you.
this is me. I'm the effing
Okay.
problem.
Got it.
So I get the counseling. It's kind of like trickling in truth. She recommends a book. I'm like, okay, there's more truth. I'm identifying with all these checklists, right? Are you experiencing, you know, fear in the home? Can you express your opinion freely? Like, no. Can you make financial decisions? No. Can you choose what to wear? No. Do you have freedom to go where you want and spend time with friends? No. Like, all of these things, because I was isolated.
And you
My
also
friends
said
were not good enough.
he was tracking your car while you were out of town.
He would track my car, not with the device, just monitoring my phone app, right? the cameras in the home, like monitored like everything.
The kind of dynamic question I'm trying to understand is, does the control come before the abuse, or is it all wrapped up into one big ball? Like he's controlling to the point where he needs to be abusive, or is it just like he cannot control you enough, so he's abusive? How does it work?
I believe that it comes from that heart of entitlement, that they actually believe that they deserve to have their needs met, and for me, I was his object to get those needs met. When and how, it was just a toss-up, and I'm supposed to know what he needs when he needs it, because I can mind read. Right? No, that's not how it works. I really tried.
And how long were you together?
We were married just over 2 years, and we had dated actually like a year before that. So
about 3 years plus.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then you got the counseling, and then
got the counseling.
Got the courage built up.
Got the book. And then talking to friends, more clarity is happening. I'm listening to a podcast by Leslie Vernick. She's like amazing. It's called Relationship Truth Unfiltered. And I'm like hearing stuff that I was like, oh, dang, that's me too. And then I was like, okay, after that incident that I spoke of previous where we spent Christmas Eve in her room, I was like, I got to get a game plan. And I had, in the meantime, with advice from the counselor, to be spending time, because I had to do this all undercover. It's a process, and you can't do it alone. I had to interview an attorney. I had to get a burner phone. I had no idea what a burner phone is. Like, I'm shaking in Walmart, like, what the freak am I doing? How am I going to buy this without, like, being known? And, like, where am I going to put it? Like, all this stuff, right? On a day that I knew friends and family would be available to help me, and it was like, game on. I could only tell one person, because gossip travels fast and you don't want to blow a plan, right? I couldn't even tell my daughter, because if she said or expressed any emotion over the camera, game over. I couldn't tell her until it was out. 10 friends show up, and 2.5 hours later, I was out. Never went back.
Wow. So 10 friends came to your house to just help you pack up and go.
Yep. Disabled the cameras, put the Band-Aid on the doorbell, and in we went, and out they went. And I had collectively acquired like plastic tow bins from Costco, stored them at like my parents' house, because I'm preparing for this day that I know will inevitably come. I never thought it would come. Like, I just really didn't want divorce, and I thought that was the end all for me. But this, seeing the light of what was really happening, gave me the courage to know that God did not create me for this, that I have gifts and I have abilities, and I'm to use it for His glory, not my abuser's self-centered interests, right?
That's takes a lot of courage, and so I commend you for doing that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I want to take just a little pause, and then when we come back, I want to hear the details about your nonprofit Beauty from Ashes right when we get back.
That sounds great.
Great.